Now, for more on what this might have in terms of effect, we're joined live now by Sarah Buchanan, Campaigns Director at the Toronto Environmental Alliance. Hello, Sarah, and thank you for joining us. I guess the first thing is there's a two-pronged approach, or for lack of a better way, it's a bit of a pun because we're talking about non-plastic forks, but there's two different things going on here. On the one hand, there's the utensils and the ancillary items, and then on the other hand, there's the requirement of now, if you bring something that is a renewable cup, for instance, business is required to fill it. So what do you think of having both of these working in tandem?
Yeah, so the research that we've seen shows that these are really effective steps that cities can take, and many cities are already taking actually to cut single-use waste, to cut throwaway items that we see littering our streets, that we see in our waterways, in the Don Valley. So these will actually have a pretty big impact. And if you think about, as a customer, how many times you walk into, maybe you walk into a lunch shop and they give you a bag, and in that bag they put a whole bunch of condiments, maybe those little plastic forks with a napkin wrapped in plastic, and hand you the bag with your items in it. Now, our research shows that 70% of customers at least end up just throwing those in the trash. Businesses also spend money on buying those. So businesses can not only save money, our calculations show it could be over $10,000 per year just from not giving people those little condiment packets and knives and forks that they don't want. And it's also going to cut a whole lot of waste in our city, which a lot of people are really happy about and have been asking for.
You heard from one of the restaurant owners that was interviewed last night on CTV News just a couple of seconds ago as we were introducing you. One thing that they were saying is that most, almost as you're suggesting as well, most customers don't use them. For those that do, having the onus be put on them, is that a way of simplifying and making sure that there is, if someone wants them, they can get them, but if they don't, it will not be wasted? Is this the best approach, you think?
Absolutely. If you need them, they'll be there. You'll be asked whether you want them. You won't have to independently remember, whether you need a ketchup packet or something like that. You'll be asked. But if you're like me, you probably have a little shelf in your fridge that has a whole bunch of little ketchup packets shoved in them, just waiting for a day when maybe I'll go on a picnic and use them, because I've been handed a lot of these packets over time that I don't need. So it really will give customers a lot more choice in the amount of plastic and other throwaway items that they bring home or have to throw in the trash on their way home.
Looking at what other cities do, you were talking about how this is not something being done in isolation. Is there things that you have seen other jurisdictions, whether it's other municipalities or otherwise, things that they have done that you'd like to see Toronto do, either perhaps as an addition or maybe instead?
Yeah, for sure. There's cities across the world, even here in Canada. For example, Edmonton is moving ahead with requiring that. For example, when you go to a coffee shop and you want to have your coffee there, you want to sit down with a friend and maybe drink your coffee, that you can get it in a mug. It sounds like not really rocket science. It's pretty back to basics, but that's something that is a step further that other cities are starting to roll out. Edmonton, as you mentioned, being one of them. France, doing that as well. We're seeing even McDonald's in France. There's a rule saying they have to provide reusable dishes for customers who are dining in. They're doing it there. We know they absolutely can, and someday we hope they do it here as well.
Royale with cheese on a specific reusable plate. That makes sense. But I want one last thing, just looking at here, the amount of the fines here going from $500 to $100,000. I think there could be a little sticker shock for some people out there. The anticipation, you think, is that this isn't going to be fining small businesses $100,000.
That's probably a better question for the city. I really don't think we're going to see an emphasis on those kind of fines, at least not at this early stage. The city's putting a lot of emphasis on education at this point, just making sure that the word gets out. It's also putting some emphasis on some support programs for businesses who want to try out new ways of reducing waste, so having grant programs so that small businesses can try things like maybe reusable takeout containers. and really pilot some of these solutions that are going to have a huge impact on, cutting down on the litter that's filling our bins in this city. We heard it come up in multiple election campaigns that people are really concerned about the waste that is not only littering our streets and spilling out of our garbage bins, but also getting into our waterways and our bodies even. So these are some initial first steps that we're happy about, and we're happy to see this moving forward. But we also know that at this early stage, businesses need support to understand what's happening and to get walked through what's going on.
Sarah Buchanan is a campaigns director with the Toronto Environmental Alliance, joining us on CP24. Sarah, we do thank you for your time, and thanks again.
Thanks, Andrew. Have a good day.
You too.